a very special guest here in studio. Once again, it is Thursday. Luke from Midway Village joining us every single Thursday.
You bet.
I was just in Galena last few days, checked out the Galena Museum there. A lot of Civil War history.
You bet.
To take a look at there. Kind of continuing that trend this morning, talking about a very impactful Civil War figure here in the Rockford area.
Absolutely. The Reverend Dr. Thomas Kerr was instrumental. And he's one of the figures. I kind of want to back up and note that every spring at Midway Village we have a week where we dedicate to Civil War field trips for students. They start this year on April 30th through May 3rd. And we get several thousand kids come through and we transform our Victorian village into 1860 Rockford on the eve of the Civil War.
Wow.
And our costumed history reenactors and interpreters dress up as Harriet Tubman and Frederick Douglass and Ulysses S. Grant. And one of the figures is Reverend Dr. Thomas Kerr, who was a local minister at the First Baptist Church. And so when the first shots were fired at Fort Sumter in April of 1861, there was a call for recruits, and Lincoln made a call for 75,000 troops to be enlisted, and Reverend Dr. Thomas Kerr gave a sermon from the pulpit, and let me read what he said from the book of Joel. It is the Christian's duty to suppress the rebel, to restore the Union, prepare for war, wake up the mighty men, let all the men of war draw near, let them come up. And so he was an immigrant from Scotland. And at first he studied medicine and practiced medicine in Elgin for 9 years, then became a Baptist minister and came to Rockford. And so he framed this as a holy war and was instrumental in those early efforts for Rockford recruitment.
Interesting. So he was really a proponent of using, I guess, religion as a way to inspire troops to come in and fight in the war.
Absolutely. And during this early days of the war, there was a lot of fervor, a lot of passion to preserve the Union. Obviously, Lincoln had just campaigned and from the Illinois area. And so at that time, most people thought that the war would last a few months before the rebels were put down. But by the time the war was in its second summer, that summer of 1862, as I've mentioned here before, the war was dragging on much longer than people thought. And there was a need for more recruits, and Rockford opened Camp Fuller down near Harlem Boulevard and National Avenue near the river.
Interesting.
And there were Rockford recruits stationed there where they trained and then were sent off to different units to go fight.
Okay.
And so by that time, there was a draft, and there was a lot more resistance in northern Illinois, in particular to the draft law and conscripting locals. But the way they handled that in Rockford is Reverend Dr. Kerr helped raise money to what they called them bounties at the time, but they were enlistment bonuses. So you could get up to $400 for your family to join and serve and train at Camp Fuller and then ship off to the war. And it turns out at the time of 1860, Rockford had just over 8,000 residents. By the time the Civil War was over, Rockford had sent over 3,000 men, nearly half of the population, to fight in the Civil War.
Wow. And $400 back then, that's life-changing money for the 1860s. So, Luke, talk to us a little bit about the field trips coming up. You said you renovate the Victorian Village to show what it's like at the time of the Civil War. What's it like for the kids to kind of get to experience that and come through Midway Village?
It's really amazing. We have a great team of historic interpreters who bring Frederick Douglass to life and Ulysses S. Grant to life. We also have a local group of war reenactors called Battery B, and they bring a Civil War cannon and the whole team of soldiers to operate it. And they fire it off every half hour, and it's loud, and it's very, very exciting for kids. And we've been doing this for decades, and now we have parents who come and they'll say, I remember when I was a kid here at Midway Village and learned about the Civil War. So it really, you see these kids' eyes get big and they see what it was really like, and you know, the Victorian Village really looks like Rockford back in that era. So it's a lot of fun, and we have that coming up. If there are any educators watching, we do have openings still. So please give a call to the museum, and we'll get you set up for our field trips coming up this spring.
Yeah, sounds like a blast. Can't imagine how much fun it'll be for those kids to hear those cannons, and just to get to experience all that. So once again, some of those details here on your screen: $10 for those students. Just put a call in Midway Village and go check out some of that Civil War type of history reenactment. So Luke, we appreciate it. We'll see you next week, my friend.
All right.